Hello everyone, my name is Charles Bartholomae and I will be presenting our research on the origin of college students' scripts of stalking. This research was done by Megan Gunnels, Adam Parker, Amy Faughn, and me under the mentorship of Dr. Karen Yanowitz of the Psychology Department. As technology has progressed, we have begun to see more and more ways that someone can stalk another person. This study seeks to grasp a better understanding of stalking in today's time and to see if people include cyberstalking into their stalking scripts. Stalking is typically defined as a repeated set of unwanted behaviors directed towards a person, and cyberstalking is typically defined as a repeated set of unwanted behaviors directed towards a person occurring in an online environment. We were interested in looking at where the participants' stalking script originally came from, and whether or not the participants would choose cyberstalking behaviors when presented with the common stalking behaviors. This study has two hypotheses. The first being that movies will be the most frequently selected option for the origin of their stalking script. The second hypothesis is that regardless of whether or not participants are given definitions of stalking that include cyber-based behaviors, participants will still choose these cyber behaviors as examples of stalking. We started off the survey by giving students one of three different definitions of stalking. The first was the typical definition of stalking, stating that stalking is typically defined as a repeated set of unwanted behaviors directed towards a person. The second gave the definition for cyberstalking, stating that cyberstalking is typically defined as a repeated set of unwanted behaviors directed towards a person occurring in an online environment. The third mentioned both definitions of the first two, stating that stalking is typically defined as a repeated set of unwanted behaviors directed towards a person. This could include all types of stalking, such as cyberstalking, occurring in an online environment, stalking in person, or a combination of the two. For our statistical analysis, however, we did collapse the conditions into two conditions, stalking only mentioned and cyberstalking mentioned. There were a total of 136 participants. Participants consisted of college students from Arkansas State University, and the majority of our participants were white and female. The survey was given through the SONA system to AState students. The first part of the survey split the participants into three different conditions and asked them to describe what happened before, during, and after stalking. The first part that we are covering asked the participants to indicate where they derived the information for the previous question. We provided a list of different origins, and the participants were asked to select all that applied. For the next part, the students were given a list of behaviors associated with stalking and/or cyberstalking. The participants were asked to indicate whether they felt those behaviors fit under the stalking category or not. The majority of students originally obtained their stalking scripts through movies. The second highest was from social media, and the third was documentaries. When asked what they would consider stalking, over 90% of participants said using apps to monitor your location, repeatedly contacting you online even after told to stop, following you, waiting outside of your home, work, or school, and watching you are all considered stalking. However, it is interesting to note that all but one of our behaviors had over 40% of the participants consider it stalking. This may be because our previous questions on stalking primed the participants into perceiving these behaviors in a stalking scenario. However, for the percent of cyberstalking behaviors, there is a significant difference seen in the frequency of cyberstalking behaviors selected between the stalking and cyberstalking conditions. Cyberstalking behaviors were more frequently selected in the cyberstalking condition than in the stalking condition. Our first hypothesis was supported in that movies were the most selected origin for where the participants derived their stalking scripts. After receiving the data, we had a concern that the Netflix show named You which was very popular at the time of data collection, was influencing our data. So it would have been interesting if we asked participants to recall some of the specific movies, TV shows, etc. that they believe they got their script of stalking from. The second most selected origin was social media, indicating a rise in cyberstalking behaviors being realized by the participants. Our other hypothesis was actually the opposite of the data we received. Participants in the cyberstalking condition more frequently selected cyberstalking behaviors, indicating that the participants more frequently chose cyberstalking behaviors when the word cyberstalking was used, rather than when it was not. We had predicted that among the college-aged participants that cyberstalking behaviors would be selected regardless of the condition, but the data shows that without the direct mentioning of cyberstalking when being asked to select stalking behaviors, the participants were not as likely to consider it. The population of our study only included younger college students, so for future research, it would be interesting to expand the study to include a wider range of participants. This would allow us to look at generational differences in thoughts about cyberstalking behaviors.